This shift in Johnny Depp's artistic expression is not merely a subtle change in casting choices, it's a marked transformation that fans see as emblematic of a deeper personal evolution. The once whimsical, fantastical personas that dominated much of his earlier career seem to have taken a backseat to characters who are more grounded in emotional complexity and human vulnerability. This progression suggests that Depp may be intentionally selecting roles that allow him to explore, process, or even communicate the scars of his past in a meaningful way. Instead of the imaginative escapism that defined his portrayals of Jack Sparrow or the Mad Hatter, characters who relied heavily on eccentricity, makeup, and exaggerated physicality, his post-trial performances are rawer, stripped down, and more emotionally exposed. Fans argue that this stylistic evolution may be less about commercial strategy and more about catharsis, healing, and authenticity. One example that fans often reference is the subtle way Depp carries his recent characters. There's a gravity to his performances that feels lived in, as though the weight his characters carry mirrors the emotional burdens Depp himself has endured. There is less flamboyance and more contemplation, less spectacle and more nuance. Even the silences in his performances seem louder now, filled with an emotional depth that wasn't always present in his earlier roles. Observers point to this as evidence that Depp is no longer merely portraying characters, he's embodying fragments of himself. This shift is perceived as a direct consequence of the immense psychological toll his legal battles and personal controversies have taken on him. The court proceedings, the global media circus, the backlash and support, the intimate details of his private life made public, all of these experiences have, in the eyes of fans, fundamentally reshaped him as a man and as an artist. Moreover, the directors and writers Depp has gravitated toward recently are also indicative of this new phase. Many of them are known for creating character-driven narratives that focus on internal conflict, emotional trauma, and existential introspection. These are not big-budget blockbusters designed to rake in box office gold. They are often passion projects, independent films, or art house dramas with a strong thematic core. This lends further credibility to the theory that Depp is pursuing roles that allow him to reclaim his voice and redirect public perception not through press conferences or interviews, but through layered, thought-provoking storytelling. By stepping into the shoes of men who are often misunderstood, conflicted, or dealing with a tarnished legacy, Depp may be deliberately aligning his art with his truth. To fans, each role is more than a job. It's a reflection of a journey, a message in a bottle cast out to an audience that has walked beside him through the storm. As fans continue to dissect the intersections between Johnny Depp's personal life and professional pursuits, the inclusion of his musical endeavors in this analysis has added yet another layer to the intricate tapestry they believe he is weaving. Depp's music, particularly his more recent collaborations, is under the microscope, with listeners parsing lyrics and tonal choices for hints of the emotional tumult he has experienced. Within the circles of his dedicated fanbase, songs that touch on themes like betrayal, lost love, inner turmoil, and the search for justice are being interpreted as thinly veiled expressions of his feelings toward the ordeal with Amber Heard. Tracks that may have once been viewed as general expressions of human emotion are now seen as deeply autobiographical. The context has changed dramatically, and so too has the lens through which his art is viewed. Depp's onstage behavior has also become a talking point. His brief but pointed remarks during concerts, often cryptic and poetic, have taken on newfound significance. For instance, his reference to getting through the lies people tell about you during a live show wasn't just a passing comment. To many fans, it was a confessional moment. Though he refrained from naming names, the timing and tone were enough to ignite widespread speculation. In a world where public figures are scrutinized for every word and gesture, such statements are seen as intentional, especially coming from someone as media-savvy and artistically calculated as Depp. TikTok clips of that moment were replayed thousands of times, with users adding their own commentary, emotional reactions, and theories. Reddit threads became home to analytical dissections of song lyrics, cross-referencing interviews, court transcripts, and other media to create timelines and theories. These fan-led efforts, while speculative, point to the powerful connection Depp has forged with his audience, a relationship built not just on performance but on shared experience and emotional resonance. Beyond music and performance, Depp's evolving public persona has become a key component of this perceived narrative arc. Gone is the aloof, often cryptic Depp, who once gave interviews laced with metaphor and misdirection. In his place is a man who, while still measured, now speaks, with greater clarity and emotional openness. When discussing his life in interviews, there's a deliberate honesty that wasn't always present in previous years. He no longer seems as invested in preserving the mystique that once defined him. Instead, he speaks about his battles, his rebuilding process, and the clarity that has come from surviving immense personal and public upheaval. Fans see this as another piece of the puzzle, evidence that his current trajectory is not just about reclaiming professional prestige, but about emotional transparency and growth. Adding further intrigue are the people Depp chooses to work with. In this new chapter, Mai Wen, who directed Jeanne du Barry, is known for pushing boundaries and embracing controversial narratives. Her decision to cast Depp was itself a statement, one that seemed to reject cancel culture and advocate for artistic merit over public scandal. Their collaboration was framed by some media outlets as a risky gamble, but for Depp's fans, it was more than that. It was seen as symbolic defiance, a sign that he was reclaiming his agency through partnerships that supported his version of the truth. Similarly, Depp's recent ventures into art and experimental cinema, where themes of identity, resistance, and inner turmoil are central, are also interpreted through this lens. These projects tend to revolve around individuals who face societal condemnation or undergo profound personal reckonings, figures whose arcs mirror Depp's own battles with perception and reality. His appearances at international film festivals and art exhibits have also attracted significant attention. These events often feature works that explore societal injustices, media sensationalism, and personal redemption. Depp's involvement in such spaces is seen as both reflective and strategic. Fans posit that he is deliberately associating himself with themes and creators who understand the complexities of public vilification and the arduous path to personal redemption. His participation becomes a form of narrative control, a way to reframe his image not through tabloid counterattacks, but through shared artistic vision. It's as if each film, song, or artistic appearance is a chapter in a longer, unfolding story, one in which Depp isn't merely reacting to his past, but actively rewriting the way it is perceived. This interpretive approach taken by fans has created a sort of mythos around Depp's recent work, turning his career into a living, breathing, autobiographical art piece. Whether or not every detail and perceived reference is intentional, the emotional truth they resonate with cannot be ignored. His audience, many of whom followed the highly publicized trial and its fallout with intense investment, see their own feelings of injustice and resilience mirrored in Depp's evolution. Through music, film, and public engagement, Depp seems to be engaging in a prolonged dialogue with those who stood by him, less through direct speech and more through the symbolism and emotional honesty of his work. This bond has only deepened in recent years, transforming him in the eyes of many from a misunderstood actor into a complex, enduring symbol of survival and artistic rebirth. The juxtaposition between Johnny Depp's and Amber Heard's post-trial career trajectories continues to captivate observers, particularly those deeply invested in the long and public saga that followed their tumultuous divorce and legal battles. While Depp has seemingly embraced his past as creative fuel, channeling his personal experiences into roles that explore depth, sorrow, and personal conflict, Heard's approach has been markedly different. She has kept a relatively low profile, both in media appearances and in her acting choices. Following the high-stakes court cases that exposed intimate details of their private lives to the public, Heard appeared in only a handful of projects, often outside of the Hollywood spotlight, choosing quieter, more private avenues for rebuilding. This contrast has not gone unnoticed. Fans and commentators have interpreted this divergence not simply as a matter of professional strategy or market dynamics, but as a philosophical split in how each figure has chosen to process and present their post-conflict identities to the world. In fan discourse, Depp's roles are often dissected as carefully curated vessels of introspection, artistic resilience, and emotional transparency. They believe he is speaking through his characters, using the screen to process grief, humiliation, survival, and ultimately a reassertion of self-worth. Heard's withdrawal from the mainstream, meanwhile, is viewed by some as avoidance or even strategic retreat, a choice to protect herself from further public scrutiny, or perhaps to allow time for rebranding. Within this interpretive landscape, the career paths of Depp and Heard are seen less as individual professional decisions and more as an extension of their courtroom drama, reimagined in the form of artistic and public identity. Fans often discuss the idea that while Depp fights for his reputation through his craft, Heard seeks to rebuild hers through discretion and absence. To some, it's a tale of visibility versus invisibility, confrontation versus escape, reclamation versus silence. These readings are heavily colored by parasocial dynamics, where fans feel intimately connected to the celebrities they follow. With Johnny Depp, the sense of emotional closeness has only deepened over the years. The court case amplified this connection. Supporters didn't just watch as outsiders, they rallied, protested, debated, and defended him as though his fight was their own. This psychological intimacy leads fans to view Depp not just as an actor, but as a representative of struggle and redemption. They become emotionally invested in every role he takes, every lyric he writes, and every public appearance he makes. The symbolism they assign to his work may not always reflect reality, but it reflects their perception, which is powerful in its own right. The notion of the tortured artist is a long-standing romantic ideal, and in Depp many fans see a man who embodies that archetype, a deeply expressive individual wronged by the world and using art as a tool for justice and transformation. Even those who don't buy into the deeper symbolism acknowledge that Depp's continued relevance in the cultural conversation is unusual. Most public figures who experience the kind of scrutiny and scandal that engulfed him often fade away or struggle to reclaim their former stature. Depp, however, seems to have defied that trend. He not only remains visible, but also artistically active, continuously generating discussion with his choices and performances. This in itself feeds the narrative that he is on a deliberate journey, one of reinvention, not just in public opinion, but in personal expression. Whether the symbolism in his work is intentional or not, its impact is undeniably profound. The stories he chooses to tell resonate with themes that mirror his life: misunderstood figures, flawed but sincere men seeking redemption, characters lost in a world that has misjudged them. On the flip side, Amber Heard's career silence is equally provocative, though in a very different way. While some interpret her withdrawal as a necessary step toward personal healing or protection from further attacks, others see it as an implicit acknowledgement of the toll the public trial exacted on her public image. She has spoken in limited interviews about feeling unsafe and scrutinized, and those comments add a layer of understanding to her decision to avoid the spotlight. Still, for many observers, this contrast in approach, Depp's forward-facing defiance versus Heard's reserved retraction, becomes part of the larger narrative arc, one that continues to unfold not just in courtrooms or headlines, but through every artistic and public gesture either of them makes. This broader context, driven by public emotion and media framing, complicates the ability to objectively assess either party's actions. Critics of fan theories caution that these interpretations can sometimes veer into conspiracy territory, assigning profound meaning to choices that may have been made for pragmatic or entirely unrelated reasons. After all, actors are subject to contracts, financial considerations, and availability, and not every film or song is laden with symbolism. But even skeptics concede that few celebrities elicit the kind of passionate, near-mythic investment that Johnny Depp does. He is not merely watched. He is interpreted, analyzed, and mythologized. Ultimately, what these fan interpretations reveal is not necessarily the factual truth about Depp's or Heard's intentions, but a deeper truth about how modern audiences consume celebrity. In an age where personal narrative and professional output are inseparably intertwined, where public figures are both creators and symbols, the lines between art and life blur. For Johnny Depp, this means that every script, lyric, and collaboration becomes an arena where fans look for resolution, vindication, or connection. His post-trial work, seen through this lens, becomes more than entertainment. It becomes testimony. Whether that's the product of intentional design or simply a reflection of an intensely observant public, the result is the same: a portrait of an artist who, in the eyes of many, has turned pain into purpose and crafted a narrative of endurance in the face of devastation. Even Johnny Depp's own words have served to deepen the sense of mystery and symbolism that fans attribute to his career decisions. In a recent interview, when asked point-blank whether his post-trial projects were meant to rehabilitate his public image, Depp responded with an enigmatic yet telling phrase, "I'm just telling stories. If people see something in them, maybe that says more about what they've been through than about me." At first glance, the comment appears to be a simple deflection, a way for Depp to sidestep the loaded question. But for fans, it was far more than that. It became yet another breadcrumb in a trail of interpretive meaning. They saw in that response a quiet acknowledgement, an indirect validation that he is aware of the emotional resonance his work holds, and that he's choosing to allow others to see themselves reflected in it. By not outright confirming nor denying the speculation, Depp preserves his artistic autonomy while giving his audience permission to find deeper layers of truth in his performances. It's a subtle but powerful strategy that has allowed him to remain both emotionally accessible and artistically sovereign. The discourse surrounding Depp's post-trial career hasn't remained confined to fan circles alone. It has been amplified and dissected within the digital ecosystem of modern celebrity culture. Social media platforms like TikTok, Twitter, now X, Reddit, and YouTube have become the primary arenas where narratives are debated, symbolism is unpacked, and new theories are born. The hashtag #JohnnyJusticeForJohnny has served as a rallying cry, surfacing again and again every time Depp makes an appearance, drops a song, or signs onto a new film project. But even more telling is the rise of niche hashtags like #Depp Redemption Arc, which frame his artistic journey as a serialized transformation arc akin to a literary hero's path. Users post side-by-side video edits comparing his early fantastical roles to his more recent, grounded characters, overlaying voiceovers about survival, pain, and rebirth. TikTok creators analyze his facial expressions during interviews, dissecting every raised eyebrow and half-smile for hints of double meaning. YouTube essayists go even deeper, producing hour-long videos comparing the structure of his recent films to the timeline of his legal battles with Heard. Drawing metaphorical parallels that suggest Depp is telling his story through allegory, this digital behavior reflects a broader trend in how celebrity is consumed in the internet age. Traditional celebrity culture once thrived on mystique and distance. Stars were larger than life, their public and private selves carefully curated and separated. But in today's hyper-connected era, where information is instant and public opinion forms in real time, the boundary between personal narrative and professional output has blurred beyond recognition. Depp's life has not only been lived under a magnifying glass, it has been transformed into an evolving narrative that fans feel a part of. They don't just follow his work, they engage with it, reinterpret it, and in some cases, emotionally co-author it. This participatory form of celebrity storytelling redefines the artist-audience relationship, turning it into a kind of collaborative myth-making. Depp, whether he intended it or not, has become the subject of a collective cultural exercise in narrative construction. For many of his supporters, this process is deeply personal. During the legal saga with Amber Heard, especially throughout the televised defamation trial, fans formed strong emotional allegiances. Many viewed Depp not merely as a celebrity embroiled in scandal, but as a symbol of personal struggle. Someone who, like them, had been misunderstood, falsely accused, or hurt by someone they trusted. His pain became a mirror for their own, and his fight for vindication felt communal. As such, every new role he takes on, every lyric he writes, and every public appearance he makes becomes another opportunity for fans to find emotional closure. It's not just about Depp's healing, it's about theirs. The resonance is mutual, even if unspoken. In this sense, art becomes therapy, not only for the artist, but also for the audience. Meanwhile, critics have pointed out the dangers of this kind of emotional investment. They warn that attaching too much symbolic significance to artistic choices risks conflating performance with personal reality. Not every role Depp takes is necessarily a reflection of his private life, just as not every song lyric should be. Interpreted as autobiographical, actors work for a multitude of reasons: financial, creative, professional, and assuming that each decision is a coded message can lead to problematic over-identification. There's also the ethical question of perpetuating a narrative that may ignore the complexities of the original legal case and the people involved. But even those critics must admit that Depp's career has transcended the conventional boundaries of celebrity. Whether he wants it or not, his art is now inseparable from his personal mythos in the public eye. His fans don't just see him, they see a story, a struggle, and a symbolic journey toward redemption. The interpretive lens applied to Depp's career also signals a broader societal craving for catharsis and justice in a chaotic world. In a time when many people feel disillusioned with institutions, divided by ideology, and uncertain about truth, the story of Johnny Depp provides a kind of emotional anchor. It offers a narrative of wrongfully accused innocence, perseverance, in the face of adversity, and triumph through creative resilience. For fans who believe he was unjustly vilified, watching him return to the screen isn't just about entertainment, it's about witnessing a moral correction unfold in real time. Moreover, the thematic elements of his post-trial work, stories of misunderstood figures, damaged men trying to reclaim their identity, and emotional confrontation only feed into this sense of poetic alignment. Characters like King Louis XV and Jeanne du Barry aren't just historical roles, they are stand-ins for the symbolic fallen king, the person once revered and later betrayed. Even when Depp distances himself from such interpretations, the roles themselves seem to speak louder than any public denial could. Ultimately, whether Johnny Depp is consciously orchestrating a redemption narrative or simply navigating his career, with instinct and opportunity, the result remains the same. He has become a cultural touchstone, a living embodiment of resilience, whose work is interpreted as much for what it represents as for what it says. His career now lives at the intersection of art and autobiography, curated not just by him, but by a global community of fans who see their own experiences reflected in his journey. As long as he continues to create, perform, and share pieces of himself with the world, that journey will remain a canvas onto which people project meaning, healing, and hope. And in doing so, Johnny Depp becomes more than an actor. He becomes a symbol, a story still in the making.